Hi, today we'll be talking about what you've always had. Number one, I thought about it carefully. Number two, how did I miss it? You've had a lot of people say something like, I thought about it carefully. And 1 year down the line, 6 months down the line, you hear something like, how did I miss it? So let's talk about everyday example of bias in normal educated people. Why normal educated people engage in biases? Now, most people who make poor decisions don't think they are being careless. Most people who get to regret their decisions, they don't think ab initio that they never thought it through. And that's why you will hear, I am sorry. Sorry is one of the worst words invented, but also a very good word. Now, the point is that most times you are telling somebody, let's think this through. The person says, no, I've thought it through. And the person didn't know that it was emotions, it was biases, it was fallacy ringing in his head, it was orientation, how he had been programmed. That was what was speaking, but he wouldn't know. Now, look at it in the realm of religion, in the realm of relationships, in the realm of investments, in the realm of decisions around politics and all those. You are going to see everywhere is replaced with that. They think they're being reasonable. They say things like, I've thought it through. I didn't rush into this. I've weighed my options. And usually they feel they're telling the truth and they know they're telling the truth. At least it feels true to them. But here's what often happens beneath the surface. The point is that the mind reaches a conclusion so quickly because of what it had already, because of its biases, because of what it feels it knows, because of its experiences, exposure, environment, and because of its education. So if you are somebody who has a hammer, every other thing will look like nail, so you can hammer it in. If you are somebody who is a scientist, like a microbiologist, or somebody who is into germs and all those, everywhere you see germ, you see all those. If you are somebody who is a philosopher, everything looks like arguments and questioning to you and all those logic. So you must understand, if you're an economist, the same. That's what we'll always say. There are four things that determine how you behave. One is your education, what course you studied, which school you went to, and all your experiences. The second, your exposure. The third, and your environment. Yes, your environment will always determine how you see things. There's what we call environmentality, the mentality that comes from the environment. In our climb here, there are people you see, you say, oh, you seem to have grown up in this place. You seem to have been raised in this city because of how they behave and all those. There are some people you see, say, it seems you are the first daughter. It seems you are the first son. And probably because of how they behave. Some people you see you are last born because of how they behave. And most times you find out that it seems they are. So when you make those decisions so quickly, so early, you make it quietly, but you make the decision automatically because of what you have already, what you are carrying already. You made it invisibly. You don't know that those things that you are not seeing, but they are there. You have made your decision before the thinking began. That is why a lot of educated, intelligent people make mistakes in their judgment. So you are not now deciding, you are not now making decisions, you are now justifying. So in everyday life, among educated people, among intelligent people, among smart people, they make decisions and then they justify. Now, if you don't pick anything, pick this. Are you making a decision and justifying, or are you thinking it through before you make the decisions? So some decide to stay in a job that no longer fits them, or some decide to leave a job that fits them, but they think they're not making enough money. For instance, when I was getting a job, I got a job, and I'll give you an example. And I got a job that's many years ago, more than 2 decades ago. I got a job where I was being paid 120,000, another one 75,000, and another one 8,300 or so. I chose the 8,300 naira on why? Because of my physical nature, being disabled, I needed to just have my PhD. I needed to just further in my schooling. And because of my own passion too, I love talking, I love educating people. So if I took a job that would take me away from the university environment, coming to do my master's and do a PhD would be a lot difficult. So I decided to stay in the university. So it gives me that consciousness that I needed. That was why immediately I got my PhD, and though I was a lecturer, very few steps to my what do you call it, my professorship. But it never mattered again. I needed to go out because I've got what I wanted from there. The point I wanted to make is that now, wherever you are, you must think through the long term, the medium term, and the short term. Now, the real driver of most decisions, shame. You don't want to be shamed. You don't want to regret. You don't want to be held accountable. You don't want to fall into some kind of fear of uncertainty. You just want to be sure of where you are. So because of that, comfort zone is always a better zone for everybody, but it's always dressed up as prudence. It's always dressed up as I've thought it through. It's always dressed up as intelligence. So a professional makes a large purchase, and then the feeling comes first, excitement, the status, the reassurance. But you see, she start researching how to justify this decision he or she had made, carefully selecting reviews, carefully selecting what people think, and discarding the ones that will indict him or her, but taking the one that will support the decisions he has already taken. You see people defending a relationship long after the warning signs are there. Leave this partnership. But they're saying, but if I leave it, where do I go? I've invested a lot. And there's what we call sunk cost. I'll talk about it when I start mentioning the fallacies and biases. That's what we call sunk cost effect or sunk cost fallacy. This is because you have put in so much money, so much emotions, so much into that project, that relationship, that partnership. You don't want to leave it. You have emotional attachment to it. Yes, it could happen in a city. In that city, all your friends are there. You did your primary, your secondary, your university. So why do you leave that? Because you're going to a city, you don't know anybody. You have to start afresh. Now, that is sunk cost fallacy, sunk cost bias. None of this feels irrational. Why is happening? Every one of them can be explained. That's the important part. Bias does not announce itself as bias, announce itself as fallacy. Now, what does it announce itself as? It arrives as common sense. It arrives as I've thought it through. It arrives as I know what I'm doing. Even I find at my level, there are mistakes I can't do. So educated people are often especially good at this because they have better language, they have better defensive mechanism, they have better gift of the gap, they have better way of explaining things, they have better smartness. They can construct the explanations in a sound, thoughtful way. They can even make it noble, but it doesn't solve the problem. And once an explanation sounds good, once an explanation sounds rational, even with grandeur and the right kind of grandiloquence in words, the mind relaxes and says, I've done my part, the decision feels settled. What is usually missing is friction. Yes, you don't want to go this way because you know it will contradict. You don't want to allow this fat to seep in. You don't want this fat to be accommodated. You don't want to hear the voice of that person that will ask you a question like a devil's advocate and say, hey, Kale, but have you thought about it this way? That's one friend that will always act as the black cap, the black heart. If you read the book by Edward de Bono on Six Thinking Hearts, that one that will act as the black hat that will just try to destroy everything that you have built in your thinking and try to make you uncomfortable by questioning everything. You don't want to relate with that person at that point. If you post long enough, and ask yourself, am I evaluating this thing rightly? You ask yourself, am I defending it or am I evaluating? If you ask this question, you will now start seeing whether there are gaps, what you should do, who you should talk to, who you should consult. It may be an inconvenient truth, but it will help you to actually do the right evaluation. Remember, this series is mainly for high flyers, those who are looking at high performance, those who are looking at strategic execution, C-suite executive, MDs, public and private sector leaders, those who want to make the right decisions, because every decision they make touch destinies. All those who want to make the right decision for themselves, because they know they're going to give birth to children, or they have children already, they have a generation, and they don't want to do the wrong thing or make the wrong decision. So most of us don't slow down at that moment to ask this question. We move forward confident, thinking that this already has happened, so let me go ahead. No, at every point you are, you can always slow down and say, I am coming back. I am counting my costs. Yes, I am going to stop here so that I don't get to the extreme and I found out that I messed it all up. Later, when things don't work out, you're going to say, hi, I don't understand how I missed this. How could I have missed this? You missed it because of your biases. We miss it because of our biases. The answer is uncomfortable, but the answer is simple. You didn't miss it. Your mind filtered it away. And I want you to pause and ask yourself, in this decision you want to take right now, in this decision you want to take this month, this week, yes, ask yourself, is my mind filtering away some things that should have been there? Am I avoiding questions from some people I know that will uncover the shabbiness or shallowness of my thoughts? Am I trying to suppress some facts? Am I really open? Am I dispassionate? Am I unbiased? Am I objective? Are you asking that question? So this series is not about you being able to catch yourself at every point, because our biases are so many. If you look into my talks now, you may even see a lot of biases. But that is not the intention. The intention is, how can you know when you are drifting away? You may be listening right now, and because it's touching you in some way, you want to judge the background of the video, you want to judge the way the man is saying it, you want to judge. Why don't you leave that out and just tell yourself, I need to do better? So you need to learn how to recognize the patterns that repeat across your decisions. Can you understand the algorithm, the formula you use in having your decisions? Is it possible the blind spots that you always cover, yes, instead of uncover when you take such decisions? Can you ask that obvious question? Am I doing the right and am I evaluating? Is it me that is speaking, or my fallacies and my biases are speaking? Can you sit down and say, this thing that look obvious, in 1 year, in 6 months, in 1 month time, will it still be this obvious? Now, tomorrow, we're going to look at how this problem doesn't disappear with even education and experience. In fact, sometimes experience makes it worse. We're going to dip deeper into how your mind works and how you can take the right decision. Remember, the ultimate aim is to apply it in our businesses, in our relationships, in the 5 spectrums of wealth. That is your health and wellness, that is your love and relationships, that is your spirituality, that is your passion, your vocation, and your profession, and that is your time and money freedom. Until I see you tomorrow, remain blessed and stay celebrated always.